All right. Pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good evening, everybody. And welcome to the August 2023 meeting of the Smithfield Township Planning Commission. This is our regular planning commission meeting. Luke's got everybody, you got everybody, all the attendance, you're good?
Yep, perfect.
All right, with anybody looking to zoom in? No, we're good over there, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. All right, let's do minutes to review. Let's take a look. These are the minutes from the meeting on June 8, 2023. As we didn't have a July meeting, there's nothing to act upon. Let's take a look. Everybody look at these the minutes. I make a motion that we approve the minutes of June 8, 2023.
So moved.
Seconded by Bob. Any discussion? Gentlemen? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So they are approved. Next, do we have any comments from the public on the agenda itself? Okay, hearing none. We have two matters on today. Let's take the easy one first, which is the land development plan of Franklin Hill Manor. It looks like August 8th, Lucas, I think you were Julia, and emailed us what we did. That Franklin Hill Manor has requested an extension of time again, this time to December 29, 2023. So I guess we leave it on our agenda till the end of the year, unless they withdraw it, but you know. You have to check withdraw at some point. I would think they would have to do something. Or maybe not, I don't know. Do something to move it forward. You certainly haven't heard anything from her, right? No, I didn't think so.
Do you need a motion?
That's a good question. You know, why don't you do it anyway? You haven't heard anything.
Motion would be set the extension of time.
Yeah, seconded by Mitch, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so that is taken care of as well. All right, next. Minor subdivision plan, lands of Brian Fish. Hello. Hey, nice to see you. All right, so this plan had just been submitted and has now been reviewed. Our office has made the review, and then there was a response by our KRS.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. All right, I'll use this one. I'll use this one. All right. Who's here?
That's me.
Step it up.
I'm Allison. I'm from my KRS. I have addressed most of the comments that you have made, that John's company has made. The biggest questions were what was the proposed use for lot 1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there is an existing garage on that parcel.
Okay.
Okay, now understandably, that is not a allowed use.
Right.
Okay. Now they're subdividing the property to sell the house. And Brian wants to maintain, he wants to keep lot 1 for himself. Okay. There's a loft in the garage that he plans to renovate so that he can come here from his home in North Carolina to visit his parents, care for them as they age. But he wants to renovate the loft in the garage, so it would be residential use as well as storage. That's what he uses that garage for right now, is to store lawnmowers as well. Yes, you know, that everything that he used to maintain the entire property. So that is the proposed use for lot one. Now, I don't know how you all feel about that.
How do you access it? Because it seems
I was
like,
getting right there next, go ahead.
The garage or,
well, the property, it looks like it comes off Fish Lane, which
Yes.
is a private road. Access.
it's in the deed. They have access to Fish Lane through their deed.
So there's an easement from lot one to lot, or.
No.
They're proposed an easement from lot
Lot
one
two.
to lot two. There's gonna be a driveway easement and a stair well easement. Because the well also provides water to the house and to the garage already. It's already existing. There's an existing well line. And those things would be taken care of by deed and by an agreement between the purchaser of lot two and Brian.
I've seen that before where they share a well and no good ever happens. I would strongly recommend we change that as something.
I just got email pictures of one South Hamilton Township of one that nothing good comes of it. I have two feuding homeowners with this.
Right.
One of whom wants to cut the T line into the share, but I'll tell you right now, that's not a good idea. It may be a good idea in the moment, but it's never a good idea. We're not here for the moment.
Right.
Yeah, we're here for 10 years from now.
And, you know, there is room that should something like that happen, he can drill a well. There are no existing wells or septics within 100 feet of their property lines in all directions. Now, the one issue that we do have is the wetland area at the base of the steep slope there. That's putting the 150-foot wetland buffer, which kind of takes up most of lot one. There's a small area to have a building area back in the back. And a very tiny sliver up towards the front, up in here.
How many properties use Fish Lane?
It's unchecked, it was
Three.
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 Okay, so this is creating another lot. We've been down this path.
Yeah, it creates four, I checked that, and four are permitted. That's the max.
Yeah.
But you can double check. And you can like. So does this make three or does that make four? That makes four.
This one makes four.
Makes four.
No, it only makes three.
Does it all make it?
Yeah, because my driveway, I had to move my driveway to my other side of my property. Except I still have use of the Fish Lane to get into my place.
But aren't there two other parcels closer to the highway that use?
No, only one.
Only one?
Yeah, only one.
The others have access, other road?
Yeah.
Okay. I remember looking at it, that was 2 weeks ago. So things go in and out of my head pretty quickly.
The other problem we are having is with US Fish and Wildlife. We have not been able to complete the land develop or the land planning module. US
I
Fish
think
and
they haven't
Wildlife-
responded to Pindy.
Well, they did respond to the pending.
That there's something that
They wanted a bog turtle study, so we had to do the bog turtle study, and now we haven't heard back on that results.
They're not developing it in any way. Why would they care about the?
Exactly,
Well, yeah.
exactly.
How are you going to change it in subdivision?
And it's not a bog turtle habitat at all,
Well, there's wetlands there.
There's wetlands.
Sure.
but it's not a proper habitat.
But you're right, they're not disturbing anything.
Yeah, they're not disturbing anything.
And that's the thing with the subdivision. There's no proposed improvements whatsoever. Except drawing that lot line and making them an apartment above the garage to live in when they come to visit.
Why is it not an allowed use on that property?
Because you can't have a non-residential structure on its own, sitting on its own lot.
Right.
When you do it, it'd be one thing if it was there, you had a pole barn or something that had your stuff. And that's all right, you can't just cut that off and leave the pole barn with something that, frankly, it's fatal at this point, as far as I'm concerned. Because you don't have a residential use here, a garage is only an accessory use or anything else. And this is this would have been an accessory to the normal three-family household, but on its own, it can't be on its own. This would be like putting a parking lot in. Yeah,
Now, could they go for a zoning variance on that?
I think you have no choice, because you don't have an existing residential use, I don't see how you can get around it.
So,
Not unsympathetic, I was gonna say.
so. Assuming they go in and they make it a residential use, make it a residence above the garage. And come back to you,
The garage can't be the primary focus.
Right,
What you need is,
right.
your primary thing has to be your residence,
mhm,
that's what it has, you can turn it into a residence.
all right. So we would have to come in to the zoning hearing board to try and do something.
I would think, yeah, I think that's where you would have to get your relief.
All right,
So if they get a variance from the zoning hearing board, then they could come back here.
And then, yep, with their variance in hand, and they say yes,
So they have two options, get a variance and come back, or make a residence.
or make it a residence.
What was the timeline on making it a residence?
I don't think it would take much, what about?
About one day.
We'll be like a true contractor. One day, I'll be Yes.
No, it's already got a septic.
Yeah, it's got it.
It's got it.
And it has a reserve area, it's a testing for that. The only thing it doesn't have is it's on, well,
Oh,
That is also a problem.
Okay.
it isn't, it isn't. Deep to, for them as a good.
Oh, I don't know.
I have a shared well.
You can have a shared well,
Okay,
We can try.
if you're gonna have it within two lots that are existing, what you're talking about now is inducing a shared well situation, not blessing a shared well situation that's been there already. You know, you're inducing, what you do, this is like starting over from scratch.
No.
right,
I know it's not.
Let me interject here. That pole barn is already an apartment building. It's half part whole building and the other part was a residence. My son's mother-in-law needed a place to live, so it was changed over to that point. It does have a septic system. And that well that we're talking about here, that is a shared well. They have two pumps down in there, one for each place. So they each have their own electric coming off of it. And the pumps are stacked. So if one goes bad or something, that homeowner has to fix his own well. It's just like sharing a well. And the only reason we kept it that way, it's down 600 feet. And it's probably got 100 gallon or 200 gallons a minute. And that was the only reason we didn't want to go try and drill another one. Because when we did the well, I had it witched. And the guy said, don't go off of that point right there. And I'm afraid if we go off of that point, we may not get back down to that same water table. Where that lake is, it's like a lake. And it's never gone dry, it never will go dry. And the water won't even come up the well case.
You have two pumps down one hole?
Yeah.
Oh, what's the diameter on the hole?
6 inch,
Oh, so they're stacked,
they're stacked.
and they both have their own pipe and
They
wire?
both have their own pipe and wire.
I have never seen that, I haven't seen that out either.
I'd like to pull that out of there.
Become a contractor.
I've done a lot of things like this.
So they both have their own separate
They
utilities?
have their own.
So there's a separate meter for this building?
Yep. Yep. The whole building itself has a 7 meter already.
So is it whole building, the garage, the same thing you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So you're saying it's already been used as residence?
Well, yeah. That changes things a little bit.
Where?
We don't know how
That's why I'm saying today, right?
Yeah. Okay.
so why don't we just leave with that?
Why don't we leave with that? The existing garage is mislabeled. It is actually a residence. So we can make that revision for the next time around as well, once we get our Hindi business squared away with
Do they often require a penny for something like this?
They probably, not. They don't look, she's required to do the bindi because of the septic system
Yeah.
that triggered it.
Yeah.
And
So they have a septic.
right, but we're required to have reserve.
so that's what triggered the bindi search, and they don't know what's going on. And they, Fish and Wildlife are just notorious, they just do not respond.
Now, I did a Hindi for a subdivision we're doing up at Otter Lake. Okay, off of the Ivan Swamp. No hits.
Okay.
But I got a hit on this.
When you say it, the turtles,
Yeah, bog turtle, bats, whatever, nothing up at Otter Lake.
the fact that you're not
It
disturbing the earth. is
boggles the
not-
mind.
Well,
Yeah.
it does, there's probably not a lot there. That what a hit means that there's been one or something reported in the area. They don't know. Right, so they make the jump to the hoops to do additional studies. I guess you had someone look at it, they said there's no habitat on this piece of property.
Yes, yes.
So
this
the
is
pending
not-
should get cleared. If they found habitat, then the next step would have been, they would have had to do a bog turtle. They would have to look for them, and you can only look for them between months of March and June, I believe.
Mhm.
And so you're limited to that, but that's not the case here. No, if there's no habitat, the turtles aren't gonna be here.
We just need that piece
But
of
you need
paper.
a piece of paper
Yeah,
saying
piece of
that.
paper saying, okay,
I didn't
But-
get it. So I'm not sure. I do your home.
it's tough, it's tough. Let's see, I don't know how far you want to go with the review. We've added the adjusted tract areas, the tables, impervious surface calculations. We've added all of those. There's a steep slope disturbance table. None of the steep slopes have had any disturbance. And there isn't any proposed. Let's see. Let me go down my little list here. Most of these comments have to do with the land planning module. They asked us to add distances between the buildings on the property. Those have been added to the plan. Let's see. Oh, that is one thing I did want to discuss with you. There is a 200-foot wide netted right of way that runs along this back corner of the property. It runs diagonally through here. And it goes down to the If property and up to Airport Road. And up by the old Taylor property. There's not one pole on that 200-foot wide right of way. You don't see it.
Okay, so I can respond.
We're in. Look, lower left hand corner.
Oh, you don't have it.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right.
It runs diagonally here. Runs this piece of property here.
Okay,
The power line now runs along Airport Road and Taylor Drive and down this lane. I don't know if it's defunct. I don't know how they go about having that removed from their property.
The man right away.
Yes.
If I can interject there on that one there, that's the only for that for you.
So glad.
Yeah.
Bob came.
That right away was put in, I don't know how many years ago. We gave each landowner at that time $1 to go across the land.
Mhm.
And then you had Smithfield Village being built. And then you had a couple other places. Anywhere where that right away went, if you wanted to buy the property back from Med Ed, it would cost you $15,000. And then you can have your land back. And all it took was one person to buy the land, and that defunct the right away. But these restrictions are still in place if you don't own the right of way yourself. Newt Taylor's daughter, which was next door neighbor there, his daughter bought her right of way back. And then that took him null and void that, and I think there was a couple other landowners along that same right of way there that bought some of their land back. Who had the money to buy it back.
So,
In that corner where it comes across this property here, isn't that really that important for future building? And if it was, then we'd buy the right of way back. But there's no plans for that right of way.
Looks like a steep slope anywhere.
No, it's not that. It's in one little spot.
yeah, this steep slope is actually outside of the right of way.
Yeah. Goes in the structure.
Yeah.
What would you do down here anyway?
Our comment was that it got found out, it wasn't shown on the original plan, so we didn't know where it was.
I don't think anybody really, tell you the truth, I don't believe anybody even knows it's there. Unless you're a resident, have it in your deed or something like that.
So it really has no impact on what's being proposed, other than it should be shown on the code.
Right. And then it had to be part of the adjusted track area because we had to take that area away. Now fortunately, the adjusted track area, he still meets his minimum requirements. With all of
But it needs one exception in the back pocket.
that. Right. That was about the Med Ed right away. One of the comments was to show the zoning district boundaries on adjacent tracks. The nearest zoning line change on this is further than 1,000 feet away. I showed the zoning line on the location plan so that you can see that, you know, there's no zoning change anywhere near this property. Let's see. Zoning requirements. Okay, I added the zoning table. At the top of the list here, it's the zoning requirement table, lists all of the requirements for the zone itself, what's existing and proposed for lot 1 and lot 2. And again, there's no improvements proposed with this property. We wanted physical features shown on the plan, steep slopes, floodplains, tree lines, wetlands. Those have all been added to the plan, as you can see. The steep slopes are shaded, the wetlands are shown and shaded. The tree line has been added. So we've taken care of all of those, the physical features on the plan. You requested a title report. We've included that in this reply as well. A title report is shown. Let's see. You wanted the cartway width on Fish Lane, that's been dimensioned. Stormwater management. we've added notes, that there's been no further earth disturbance, and if any is proposed, they have to come in with a plan and get approvals from the zoning officer, township itself, DEP, whoever needs to approve those plans. We have isolation distances on the wells and septic areas. Again, asking for natural features. There's a lot of repeated comments, you know, on the list. The soils table was updated. Wetlands were shown and a report is included. And again, we're talking about land planning module. You can't do anything without fish and wildlife. There's one comment that you need a certificate from the applicant or developer indicating to his or her best knowledge that the plans are in conformity with engineering and zoning. We feel that that falls under the engineers or the surveyor certification. That's why they hired us, for us to certify to that.
It does, but I think the owner has to do it too. I'll double check that for you.
Is that part of their
Yeah, whereas,
certification of ownership? Can that be added to that? Or is it separate?
I think it's a project is material guidance.
That'd be good. I'd appreciate that. We did request a modification. The number 21 wanted proposed monuments to be put in place around the easements. We're asking for a waiver on that because putting monuments in the middle of your lawn, around your well easement and around your driveway, it causes a mowing and plowing issue. They're mowing and plowing hazards, actually. So we're gonna ask for a waiver on that, or a modification.
Which your plan shows that you're willing to set pins on the property line. Are you asking for a waiver from that? or-
No,
Okay.
just,
You have the letter, our snipe letter.
no, just
Yeah.
for around the easements. We are planning on setting monuments around the outer boundaries. Just not around the easements.
What kind of septic is it that's in the existing septic?
On lot 1 or lot 2?
One. Is that a septic system or just a septic?
Up.
It's a septic system.
It's a septic.
and
Yeah,
in
it's
there.
in ground.
Hitting ground?
All right. Plan shall contain a signature for the township engineer. We had that mislabeled, so that has been revised. Let's see, where no public water is. We have attached a water quality test for the well, and let's see, existing well serves both the existing dwelling and the detached garage, which is actually a residence now. We fixed that. And we added restricted covenant number 10. For the repair and maintenance. The shared well easement is hereby established over lot 1 for the uninterrupted repair and maintenance of the existing water line.
Can you say that again?
Mhm.
You have a maintenance agreement or?
We're going to provide a maintenance agreement between the owners of lot 1 and lot 2. That will be provided to you. It's still in process of being prepared.
Yeah, it'll be in a recordable form.
Yes.
Has to be.
Yes, yes,
And would
and
that be the case with driveway as well?
yes,
Yes.
yes,
Are there any other easements or agreements that need to be had?
no.
There's no easements for the electric line coming on or?
I don't think we're gonna need that. It would
But
be-
they've already left their separate electric.
Yes, there's a
And
separate.
that's already on off of Fish Lane coming in, so there's no easement needed for that. Okay,
Everything is existing. Let's see. Number 24, steep slopes. Plan shall be revised to show steep slopes. Oh, that's a duplication. We've already taken care of that. That's shown. 25 talks about the use of lot 1 again, so that's been taken care of. 26 talks about the easements again, and that's been taken care of. Let's see. 27 talks about the easements again, and we've added restrictive covenant 11. States that all of these easements will be recited on their deeds, as well as the agreement. And then 28. 28 was lengthy. It was A through E, and it all talks about the open space in lieu of fees. It took up an entire page. The applicant intends to pay the $500 in lieu of fee. And one of those comments was that the minor. This requirement was requiring a description of the anticipated population characteristics of the future occupants of the development, such as likely age groups.
You don't have to worry about that. We just quote the ordinance so people can understand what we're referencing.
Okay, that struck a chord.
Oh,
It struck a chord, and it's just. We felt it bordered on discriminatory, you know, but that's for you guys to decide, so. Asking us to tell you who's gonna be living in the house, who's gonna be living on the property.
Yeah, but they're over 55 development things too, no,
yeah,
that's what it's for.
that's what it's for.
Right, but this is a minor residential subdivision.
Then
Then it won't apply, but
it's just they're not applicable.
they just say not applicable,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. I'm sorry, it just. Yeah, I lived here my entire life. And I just felt that that was wrong, bringing people to ask. It just feels wrong to me. But that's me, not RKR, it's me. It's me. Okay, moving on. No changes shall be made in the contours of the land, no grading or excavation. See general note number 10. There's no changes to be made on this property at this point, and if it does, they have to come back in to see you to do that. The water resource impact study, water test is attached. Where are we? 31, land planning module again. Can't take care of that one yet. 32, isolation distances have been added. 33. Let's see, where was this one? Storage planning module. Still can't do that one. 34. Again, the module. 35 is about the stormwater management. We have added the buffers. You can see them there in the pink lines parallel to the wetlands, except most of the property. But they have been shown. Miscellaneous comments. That was my bad. The bearings and distances around the easements were rotated, and I didn't change them, but now they have been repaired. That goes for 36 and 37. Maintenance responsibilities for Fish Lane between existing property owners or future property owners shall be addressed. That shows up in covenant number 8. Number 8, yes. Now, were you talking about Fish Lane out to the road or the coming in onto their property?
I think we wrote this before, I think I may have done a little bit of title search after this letter was written. I wasn't sure who was responsible for what,
Oh, okay,
but I think that note covers it.
okay.
Is there any kind of agreement now between the property owners to maintain the road?
None whatsoever. It's in each of their RDs
Yeah,
on that thing there that it's a 50-foot right of way going down through there. And we're responsible for our own section of on our own property. Is what it says to be. It's like I take care of the whole road right now.
Yeah, I understand, but in the future,
No, in the future, it will be up to the people to go together and repair the road if they want to repair it, or if they don't want to repair it,
so
or.
let's just say there's 1, 2, 3, the guy that lives in lot number 2 is the third person.
Right,
1 and 2 go to Florida for the winter.
right.
3 now has to pay for the whole maintenance of the road during the winter.
Yep. Yeah, because if I'm not there, then they're not getting plowed out or less.
Well, I understand, I'm talking 50 years in the future.
Yeah.
So is there any?
God, I might still be here, Dave.
Well, I also was still in my driveway, well. But in the future, should we look at that a little closer so that there's some more formal agreement? That,
I don't know, to me, it was always,
well, it works now because you
yeah,
do it,
right.
but in the future, does it still work? Is now the time to address that?
Not a reasonable works.
No, yeah, because if you.
I'll put on my lawyer hat. You don't want to say any kind of things, any of the others. Those that have a right to use the easement have the responsibility to pay for doing it. In a very broad sense.
I
Now,
know.
whether or not, but you don't have to do it else.
No, I understand, but I also have a friend of mine who's in this exact situation, and he can't get his neighbors to share this road, to do any maintenance whatsoever. So he has
He's
to be
better
able.
aware.
Well, I'm just saying, is there was an agreement.
That's how it works. How it works.
Okay, not me, so I'm just saying, throwing it out there.
Actually, the guy on the bottom. Either lot 1 or lot 2 is gonna actually be responsible for the whole road. If he wants to get out.
Right.
He's the one that's gonna end up doing all the maintaining.
Right,
Up until
and the guy that's
on the top,
further up, not on the plan, he gets benefit of it.
he gets the benefits out of it.
Which,
But they are entitled to ask for. One thing, the benefits of that maintenance are entitled to ask for reimbursement for that, and it is.
and he said, well, I don't want to go a pothole,
Why?
then he doesn't have to pay for it?
No,
No, he doesn't have to pay for it.
no, he will be forced to pay for it, fully, that's your litigation, I'm telling you, or.
I think we're gonna pay more in lawyer fees than if you just fix the potholes.
Yes,
Exactly.
that's why these are not favored anymore, that's why cutting off a new lot, putting it in there, is the exact same thing, is asking for the same problem as it would be for that one over there. The Frank Hill Manor one that we tabled till December
Yeah, but
20th.
if you had a big development and it was an HOA, then there would be,
12 lots or more,
yeah, so then it would.
that is different. Because of those, that's a different set of rules and a different set of standards.
Well, it's your ballgame. If that's the way you want to play it, that's fine with me. I'm just making a suggestion.
I know it's gonna be up to my grandson, so
Yeah.
it's gonna be up to him then.
Well, I'm just saying, we have a maintenance agreement on the bridge
Right.
for this exact reason.
Mhm.
So
You don't need that either.
we have it.
Okay. It doesn't-
Good boy, you.
And I don't. I'm here. I like to- what do we do? What do you want me to do? But I'm just saying, but if you actually don't need to.
Well, I understand, I'm just saying, because it's still a problem.
Maybe.
You don't want to go there, and you're happy in this legal, then you're done.
Your bigger issue is the shared well.
well, and there's also another issue, you've got another property owner who has no dog in this fight, so he's not gonna be interested in entering probably into any maintenance agreement that we might want to talk about. He's gonna say, I'm happy just the way it is.
Well, yeah, he is. He doesn't have to worry about diddly spot, right?
True.
Okay, so that's pretty much all of the comments in a nutshell. And like I said, we're aware that we are gonna have to come back to you because we're,
Well, do they need to come back to us? I think we can resolve this and move on. We can make some recommendations with some conditions. I personally think we can.
Would anything that you're going to be seeking cause a change to what we're looking at here? In the plan, order? Anything that you'd be seeking from outside the township cause the map and the proposed subdivision to change?
no, the map.
That's what I see.
Will only be.
Oh, we're looking for one waiver or something,
Yeah,
the easement.
yeah, we're not putting monuments around
Yeah,
it.
which I think that would change the plan at all.
No, I'm not talking about it or anything.
Well, we're gonna change.
I don't remember.
I think we have this land plan.
What's the, I don't know, what's the acronym?
Pennsylvania.
Okay, all right, and when.
That's not gonna change,
Doesn't change.
there's not, even if there is a box over there, they're not proposing.
Okay, there's not gonna be asking is before we, about, when Dave's asking about moving it on, are we moving on and. For no purpose, because it'll have to get changed and come back, but the answer is no.
The answer is no.
Okay, then that's the answer.
So I'm prepared to make a motion.
I would just like to comment on the request about not putting the pins in the easement. I think, I don't care about the Met Ed easement. I think that well easement, which we're already talking about, should be identified, and I don't know why the pins can't be driven flush to the ground. The surveyor can still find them with a pin finder. And that way that easement is marked out. And
Okay.
if there is a question in the future, it can be found, please.
And then like, there would be a question in the future, because you've got to dig up the line. You can say that so 20 years down the road, these two owners will likely change.
It's quite possible.
And nobody's gonna work an excavator, come up there, the first, a lot too dry, they come across and start digging. I'm just saying that. I mean, I have no trepidation about shared over the. I think each parcel should be, the purpose of residential, R1, the R1 zoning, is that they're supposed to be independently standalone. Dwellings, well and septic is not served by public services. And I think creating one is, I actually really, I think it should have its own well.
Is it legally required to have it? Is there anything in the zoning that states that it has to have it?
Yes, you should have an on-site well and septic,
Yeah.
unless it's already existing in a different setting, and what you're doing is you have something that's not already existing. You have what is existing is the big piece, and they did it, whenever they put in the well, with, all those years ago. What you're doing now is creating change. And you're creating a change that creates a lot in an R1 zone. That is not otherwise allowed because it doesn't have its own on-site water.
Well, the fact that he has his own pump and own electric and own water.
It's not on there, it's not in the delineation of the lot, that's the problem.
Yeah, he has to use.
No, I'm telling you, okay, he has an easement. What I'm saying is, you would not be able to do this. On some other piece.
You could start from scratch and do it,
You just have to try to do it.
but it's existing.
It's existing, the whole thing, what they're doing, you're basically making it start from scratch, because you're drawing a line down the middle and creating two lots. This wasn't done 75 years ago, where there's already a lot, and then that's usually where you see the shared wells, is they were old done before. The niceties of subdivision and engineering, from the 70s basically forward. So they had, shared, some like shared services and so forth. And away from that, because these things inevitably cause problems. Now, this is really different, I've never seen two build walls, that's really strange. But, I've never seen it, but, you would not normally otherwise do it, I think frankly. I would not recommend approval of this unless there's an existing well on the new lot one, because lot one has to be a standalone. Has to be.
Is that a zoning requirement or is that in the SELDA? That it has-
Fairly certain it's in R1. I've had zoning,
It's in zoning,
I'm fairly certain. Yeah,
that could be, you could go for a variance on that if we needed to.
that would probably be your way, that would be our recommendation. Would be to do it that way with a variance. But it's up to you guys. But that would be my motion, to recommend approval with the condition that they would get a variance to permit the shared well.
Who gives,
Not to
who gives the variance?
the zoning, from the zoning hearing board. That would be my motion to recommend approval. Pending if they, upon the condition of obtaining a variance for a shared well, not on the newly created lot.
So hypothetically, if this was a raw site with nothing on it. And they were gonna propose 2 new houses. And there was no way to get a well on lot 1 because of.
Then it would be undeveloped.
Well, not if they were granted an easement to the adjoining property.
No, not if they have a variance to use somebody else's well. Not an easement. The easement is just the mechanism by which you can then maintain and pass the water back and forth. The legal blessing is the attaining of variance from the zoning hearing board to permit something that is not otherwise generally permitted under the
Is
zoning.
it realistic to get that kind of variance?
I actually don't know what our township zoning hearing board does with many of these, but there are a couple of main. There are a couple of main things that you have to do to get a variance. Including the things like, does it change the general nature and construct of the neighborhood? I think no. The likelihood is that it's not going to change the character of the neighborhood. We're talking about.
Whether they're doing it anyway.
Yeah, because you're doing it anyway. Variance requests start at the legal proposition of no. Because you're trying to ask for something that is otherwise not allowed under the zoning ordinance. So you go in saying, I know it's not permitted, but here's why I think it'll be okay in this instance. And then the zoning hearing board makes the decision, after hearing,
You have to prove hardship.
there's a hardship and such, and that's always a problem with zoning, variances, is because you can't come in with self-created hardship. I mean, nobody, so you can't, say that, I can't do it any other way to conform with the zoning regulations because it's a hardship. But I think you could probably nuance around that. In this
What's the
instance.
purpose of doing the subdivision? I mean, why do you want to do
Selling the house
They're selling the house
and lot 2 now.
and keeping lot 1, which has the apartment garage. So that they can come back and forth from North Carolina and have a place to stay. And I'm sorry, Pop, this is their words. To help take care of their aging parents.
That's not even hear about that. That sounds very respectful and responsible.
Yes. Yes. Even though I'm here to help take care of them too, but that's okay.
No, you need to take care of.
I didn't hear it, not yet.
No, I'm still taking care of this stuff.
Why is it such a big deal to spend $10,000 and drill a well?
He had said that it's 600 feet.
600 feet deep is probably.
600 feet deep, and to drill a new well there and get down another 600 feet. You're gonna look at another
20.
$20,000 to $30,000 on a well.
And did you take your little sticks and find where to go?
Not yet.
He can though. He can.
Did you say that you had it witched?
Yeah.
And they said this is the only place you can draw?
Yeah, Frank Scagliotti,
When you do it.
Which-
too, don't you?
well, I only find wires and empty conduits. He never got the knack of doing water.
But the depth of the well, one of the things that breaks in your favor
Very
in asking for an easement, or a variance.
The variance.
Variance, yeah.
Well, when
It
you,
will also be because of how much water is down there,
Mhm.
because of, like the well driller told me, don't let East Stroudsburg know. You got this much water down here, they're gonna be piping it from here all over East Stroudsburg.
how do they know how much water's been?
Cause when he went down through, he got to, as he started going down, he kept calling me saying, I only got a half a gallon a minute, I only got a gallon a minute. And he just kept saying, you want me to stop at 5? I said, no, half gallon doesn't do anything for you. Go another 100, and when he hit that 600-foot mark, the well casing just went, or the drilling rig, the piping just dropped down,
Oh,
and then they measured it. And he said, I couldn't even get my weight to go down into the water very far. It just wouldn't go no further, there's buoyancy in there.
Hmm.
Kept it up, he said, and then when they pumped the water, the water test and everything, they couldn't, it didn't, never dropped an inch.
wow. Wow,
So it's a big aquifer down there,
yeah.
and, the chances of hitting that, by even moving the well 10 feet, you may miss it.
Well, the fact that you have separate pumps, separate electric, I would think it'd be easy. in
That's
favor of
why-
Getting the variance.
That's why we did it that way when we did it.
Yeah.
So they each had, each one of the places would have their own.
You can't pull the bottom pump, of even the upper
No,
pump.
you gotta pull the other one,
Yeah.
if you gotta pull the bottom one, you just pull the other one out.
Yeah.
Pull the bottom one out.
All right, well, that seems reasonable.
Quite a pump.
600 feet, yeah.
Yeah, it's, they're pretty good sized pumps. They're down there. That's a long way.
So therein is the hardship that justifies.
Yeah, that all breaks that favor, but I don't think that's the way it has to be.
All right, so we ready for a motion? I'll recommend approval to the supervisors with the condition that they obtain their fishing, which is the one fishing wildlife.
Wildlife, the land planning module.
David, can you speak up a little?
Oh, I'm sorry, that they. Do we need to ask them, do they have to get a waiver for the pins for the easement?
Actually, we were gonna, you don't want us to do that, you want us to. put the pins in? We'll withdraw that.
Okay.
We'll withdraw that request.
So just, you don't have to stake out the easement of the net easement, just the easement for the well, the water line.
All right, thank you.
And that you have, I know you said you're gonna do it, but I'm just gonna say it, that you have the agreements for the easement of the well and for the driveway.
Mhm.
And then the sewage module, is that part of the PNDI?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's,
And I think that's all I have. Oh, then you get a waiver on the
The variance.
separate, the combined well.
Yeah, you get a variance, you go to Smithfield zoning hearing board.
Yeah.
For a variance,
Variance.
for the use of the shared well.
I second that motion.
Any other discussion? Okay. Anything from the audience? Martha, anything? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
thank you all very much for putting up with me tonight.
Could be the reverse.
Appreciate you all. Thank you. All right, Pop, we're done.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
His wife is my den mother on Cub Scout. Okay, and Brian. I didn't realize he'd be located in North Carolina. I make a motion that we I know they're eight.
All in favor?
Thank you all.
Did we get a vote from Doug Schreiber? Did he make the forum?
We already had it for with Doug years. He hasn't been feeling well.
Okay, all right, I just never that you deserve.
We're done. Thank you all.
I'll count them as an attendant that did not.
That's fine.
vote.
Yeah, that's fine.
So. You'll get a lot.
We're just going.
Right next to,
It's right in front of it.
yeah, his property is off officially as well, but he doesn't suffer.
Yeah. All right, everyone.
Could we talk a minute about that? Article that was sent out that said we should read,
Oh,
can we take a look at it?
yes, I did.
That's something that is reasonable for our township. Maybe what it was.
Are you talking about that,
Your article, yeah.
the one from Strong Town?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I remember that.
Gotcha. Was that about, that was the one about accessory dwelling unit and stuff like that, as like a right?
I mean, I wasn't sure exactly what was being suggested.
So, I don't remember that to the like, but I think the general idea of that idea is, you know, like a mother-in-law suite or in-law suite, or that you have, you know, apartment or garage, or that you have, you know, you can put an accessory dwelling unit in general, anywhere in residential zoning. That's the idea of that, kind of, our zoning laws everywhere in Canada here is really the biggest thing causing, you know, half of our, housing crisis. So that's what that idea is. Doesn't matter.
I've evicted any number of relations who won't leave the mother-in-law suite after mother-in-law's long since gone. Like you can't even believe how many times. Much like the shared wealth inevitably causes a problem. Inevitably causes a problem. And it turns everything into a multi-family dwelling thing.
Yeah.
I did a bunch of evictions, I call them COVID evictions, these people who came out here. Stayed, and then wouldn't go, then wouldn't leave there, like, you know, people's basements for 2.5 years. To 3 of them, as a matter of fact, that I had to do.
And they were their family members?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Inevitably. Yeah,
Wow.
it's, yeah, it's not pretty, it's tough, but. You know, but that's true, that's what happened, I think we got a lot of other things to deal with before we really get that.
That's fighting over the bill.
And you do that too.
Sorry to see that.
You know, we don't do very many, like, because it's, they're incredibly difficult, burden of proof to get beyond that somebody, like you know, that you would say that whatever they wrote in their sign was somehow valid, that's a very false presumptive. So we all presume that you're a good friend, you know, and so it's a very difficult thing to overcome. And it's not even regular, it's not even like a regular civil law.
You still want to old and unfinished thing to read?
Yes,
Yeah, all right.
Yep, if you would, please, leave them there.
I'll,
I figure it doesn't hurt, let's just leave them there, Lucas.
thanks, Lucas.
Thank you, have a good night.
Haynes.
Unless they can prove.
You're gonna hang the sky, but.
And weddings, whatever.
So I'm just gonna.